to the Ecstatic Sunday program. I'm feeling ecstatic. So we're going to continue our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4th canto, chapter 11. And in this chapter, Swayambhuva Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj. Now this is not Dhruva Maharaj when he was a young boy. This is Dhruva Maharaj when he's grown up and he's a king. And he's engaged in a battle with the Yakshas. And in that battle his brother has died. Killed on the battlefield. Of course that's glorious. If a Kshatriya is killed on the battlefield, that's considered glorious in those days. Well, even in these days, he gave his life for his country, that's what they say. So, these are very interesting instructions given by Swayambhuva Manu, and we can see that he's quite advanced in spiritual knowledge. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Mudirayet Nashtapraye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Sri Gurun Dinotarinam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanang pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Nanto Antakara Kalo Anadir Adi Krid Avyaya Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sonanton Takara Kalo Anadiradi Avyaya Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sonanton Takara Kalo Nadiradi Avyaya Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sonanton Takara Kalo Nadiradi Avyaya Janam Janena Janayan Marayan Mrityunantakam Sa He Ananta Infinite Antakara Annihilator Kala Time Anadi Without beginning Adikrit Beginning of everything Avyaya without decrease. Janam, living entities. Janena, by living entities. Janayan, causing to be born. Marayan, killing. Mrityuna, by death. Antakam, killers. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time, He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although He is the beginning of everything. Nor is He ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death. But He is perpetually free of birth and death. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The supreme authority and inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be minutely studied from this verse. In this one shloka, Swayambhuva Manu is explaining everything about the quality, the divine qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first thing he says is that Krishna is always unlimited. That means that he has no creation or ending. He is, however, death in the form of time, as described in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna says, I am death, I take away everything at the end of life. Eternal time is also without beginning, but it is the creator of all creatures. The example is given of touchstone, which creates many valuable stones and jewels, but does not decrease in power. Similarly, creation occurs many times. Everything is maintained, and after a time, everything is annihilated. But the original creator, the Supreme Lord, remains untouched and undiminished in power. The secondary creation is made by Brahma, but Lord Brahma is created by the Supreme Godhead. Lord Shiva annihilates the whole creation, but at the end he is also annihilated by Vishnu. Lord Vishnu remains. In the Vedic hymns it is stated that in the beginning there is only Vishnu, and that he alone remains at the end. So, this is a very nice description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he's always unlimited, Ananta. So nanto, he is always unlimited. Antakara, kala. But through time, he brings everything to an end. Anadir, he is beginningless. Adikrit, but he is the beginning of everything. Krit is a verb, to do, so he causes everything. In the very beginning, he's the cause of everything. Avyaya. Avyaya means without being decreased. He expands his energies, but his energies remain completely full, perfect, and complete. There's no decrease in any of his energies. So although he is the beginning of everything, he is never exhausted. He's inexhaustible. Although everything else is exhausted due to the action of time. So in course of time, everything diminishes more and more and more. You lose your eyesight, you lose your hair, you lose your hearing, and finally, you lose your body. It is what it is. You can't change it. The only thing you can do is be positive and do something to ensure that at the end, when the time of death comes, that we're transferred to the spiritual world and that we don't take birth again. So, Janam means the living entities. So the living entities are created through the agency of Janena, other living entities. So we have parents. Through the agency of the parents, we come into being. And then they pass on. We get married and we have children, and then we pass on. And they continue, and this is the way it's always been. You can't change it. It is what it is. So, although the living entities are created through the agency of the Father, and they're killed through the agency of death over time, still, Krishna is perpetually free of birth and death. He's beyond this law of material nature. He lives in a different realm. He's made of a different nature, which is Sat Chit Ananda. It's eternal. He is eternal, and his spiritual world is eternal. Chit, full of knowledge. He's completely full of knowledge, and everyone in the spiritual realm is full of knowledge. And Ananda, he is totally blissful, and everyone in the spiritual world is blissful. Whereas in this material world, creation occurs many, many times. And after a time, everything is annihilated, except Krishna remains. The secondary creation is made by Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, when he comes into being, there's nothing. And so he's empowered by Krishna. Govinda plays his flute and empowers him with knowledge and Shakti to begin the creation of this particular universe. So therefore we say Brahma is the secondary creator, because without being empowered and given the knowledge how to create, he couldn't do it. So the guru of Brahma is Krishna. So he gave the order, and he gave the instruction, and he gave the empowerment to do everything. Therefore he is known as the secondary creator. But at the end, he also comes to an end. He also has a lifespan. It may be 311 trillion years, which for us is, inconceivable. That's a lot of zeros after the 311. But then his life also comes to an end. The same with Shiva. Shivji, although he lives, for an unbelievable amount of solar years, by our reckoning, his service also comes to an end. And the only thing that remains is Krishna. So Prabhupada states that in the Vedic Shastra it is stated that in the beginning there is only Vishnu, and in the end he alone remains. So Prabhupada continues now in the second paragraph, and he gives an example. An example can help us to understand the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord. In the recent history of warfare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead created a Hitler, and before that he created a Napoleon Bonaparte. And they each killed many living entities in war. But in the end, Napoleon and Hitler were also killed. People are still very much interested in writing and reading books about Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte and how they killed so many people in war. Year after year, many books are published for public reading regarding Hitler's killing thousands of Jews in confinement. But no one is researching who killed Hitler and who created such a gigantic killer of human beings. The devotees of the Lord are not much interested in the study of the flickering history of the world. They are interested only in Him who is the original creator, the original maintainer, and the original annihilator. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. So Prabhupada is giving us here the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, and that is to be interested only in the source of everything, the creator of everything, the maintainer of everything, and the annihilator of everything, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Because everything else, Prabhupada said, is just flickering history. So the word flickering comes from the example of a candle in the wind. You have a candle with a little flame, and when the wind blows, that flame flickers and finally goes out. It doesn't have much Shakti. Similarly, our history, the history of Napoleon and Hitler and Julius Caesar and all these other so-called great generals of war, just cosmic microseconds in eternal time, just flickering history. Now they're here, now they're gone. Now you see them, now you don't. So from Krishna's perspective, now you see them, now you don't. It doesn't mean much to Krishna. And I have an example to make this clear. Sometimes if we go in the forest, we come across a big anthill, and we see there's so many ants very busy, working, doing this and that, going here and going there, always moving. You never see the ants lying back, getting a suntan with sunglasses, going to the beach. They're always busy, busy, busy. And then sometimes you'll see one particular ant carrying something a little bigger than everyone else. And he's walking slowly, whereas everyone else is carrying something little tiny and we're going really fast. And he's carrying some big thing back to the nest. And he's thinking that he's doing some really big service, very important service. He's bringing back, because of his strength and power, he can bring back this thing that's a little bigger than a grain of sand to the hive. But from our perspective as human beings, they're all just ants. We don't think that this one ant is better than the other ant. They're all just ants. We don't give them much credence. We look for a minute or two and then we walk on. We don't even think about it. So it's the same with Krishna. We're thinking our history and our life and these great generals that we write about and we talk about them for centuries. That's very important, but it's just like they're ants. It's just flickering history. They're just here and then they're gone. Just like before we came here, we were in Amsterdam. So we were staying with our friends in the middle of Amsterdam, and about 2 or 3 minute walk is the Anne Frank house. Everybody know Anne Frank? So Anne Frank was a girl, teenage girl, a young girl who wrote a diary about when the Germans were coming and slaughtering everything, and she also was killed, but her diary was found. And so she became a hero. She wrote this diary. Here's this girl who, who's very strong and very positive in the face of difficulties and everything. And there's a huge big building, and there's a huge lineup of people to go in. So we were standing there watching. And then this one man came out, and he said, they charge you so much money, and all it is a little tiny room. She just lived in a little tiny room. You go up and you see this little tiny room. That's it. For 15 euros. So there wasn't much to see. But people are lining up and they're making a big business. And this little tiny room is now in this huge building. And it's called Anne Frank House. So when you come there, you're thinking the whole building is... but actually it's just one little room in that building. Anyway, so they're making something very important. And anyway, Anne Frank, whatever happened to her, she took birth in another body, and she's probably wherever she is now, carrying on her life in another family and in another realm. So all this Prabhupada calls flickering history. Flickering moments in the history of the world. So, but the devotees, they're not much interested in studying the flickering history of the world. The devotees are interested only in He who is the supreme original creator, maintainer, and annihilator of all the material universes. And that is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, to bring interest of Krishna to the general public. And that's why Srila Prabhupada published so many books and had so many books translated into so many different languages, and asked the devotees to please distribute these books to every town and village all over the world, so that people can get some understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the whole purpose of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to become conscious of Krishna. That's what it's called, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's not the International Society for Religious Consciousness or Spiritual Consciousness or Guru Consciousness or Book Consciousness. It's Krishna Consciousness. So anything that's connected to Krishna is Krishna Consciousness. So that is the purpose of this movement. Now, I just want to make an interesting point. We say in our English language and Romanian language and Russian language and all the Spanish and all the languages of the West, we say the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. However, that's not what we say in India. It's not the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in India, not in Hindi, not in Bengali, not in Sanskrit. It's called the Antarashtriya Krishna Bhavnamrita Sangha, and I'm going to translate that for you. Antarashtriya means, universal, which is bigger than international. Sangha means association of devotees, rather than a society or an institution. Krishna Bhavnamrita. Well, Krishna is Krishna. There it's the same. But Bhavnamrita doesn't mean consciousness. Amrita means nectar. And Bhavana means your emotions. So Krishna Bhavnamrita means the nectar you're experiencing from your feelings for Krishna. It's the Antarashtriya, the international or universal association of devotees who are tasting the nectar from their feelings for Krishna. Just look at the difference. Bhavnamrita. So Prabhupada had difficulty. How am I going to translate Bhavnamrita? Because there's no such word in any Western language that you're tasting some nectar from your feelings for somebody. Krishna Bhavnamrita. So the closest thing he could come up with was consciousness. Now, the difference between consciousness and Bhavnamrita is that consciousness means that we are aware of, we're conscious of Krishna, which takes place in the intellect or in our mind or in our consciousness. Whereas Bhavnamrita means that we're experiencing some nectar out of the feelings and emotions that we have for Krishna. In other words, love. It's a whole different thing. In Sanskrit and in India, the word Bhavnamrita is talking about what's going on in the heart. Whereas in the Western countries, it's what we're thinking about. And here even Prabhupada says, we're only interested in studying about Krishna. That's the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. But the purpose of the Krishna Bhavnamrita Sangha is to taste the nectar of our loving devotion for Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada wanted us to learn Sanskrit, so that we can get the original meanings of the words and get a deeper, more profound understanding. So languages in India, like Hindi, or Bengali, or Telugu, or Gujarati, they're all daughters of the same mother, Sanskrit. So they all have this word and conception of Bhavnamrita. But in our Latin-derived languages, which are mostly from the Western countries, in Latin there was no such conception as Bhavnamrita. Therefore we don't have that concept and we don't have that word in our language. And it's the language that defines or what's the word? Well, defines is the closest I can think of our consciousness, or it conditions our consciousness. Because by the words we get conceptions. So the conception of Bhavnamrita is a completely different conception than Krishna consciousness, Krishna Bhavnamrita. So although some people will say Prabhupada translated Krishna consciousness from Krishna Bhavnamrita, therefore it's the same meaning. But when you go into the etymology of the words, you can see that it's not exactly the same. It's much more profound in Sanskrit because it's of the heart. And one thing Prabhupada told me many, many years ago, he said Krishna consciousness is an affair of the heart. An affair of the heart. That's what he said. He didn't say it was an affair of the intellect, or of the brain, or of the mind, or of the intelligence. But no, it's an affair of the heart. So we have to experience that feeling, just like father and mother. They have a child. And before they have a child, it's like a conception. We're going to have a child and it's really exciting and this is... But as soon as the child comes out, it's a different experience. All of a sudden, the heart opens up and you're feeling something for this child. Am I right, mothers? Yeah? So that's the example, that we have to start now feeling something for Krishna. It can no longer remain a conception, but he has to become a real person in our life that we have feelings for. And the nectar you experience for the feelings of your children are wonderful. They're wonderful feelings. And everything your child does, you feel so happy and you're so proud of them and you're encouraging them and you just think it's so wonderful. Why? Because of love. Because you have love for that child. So we have love in our hearts and we experience it for another living entity. So why not experience for Krishna? He's also another living entity. We know how to love someone else. So why not have that same mood and that same feeling for Krishna that we have for our children? So we know how to do it. We can't say, oh, I don't know. I've never, this concept I don't know. If you have children, you know that concept. You know that experience. You know the Amrit, the Bhavnamrita for your child. You have that. You experience that. Now we want to experience that for Krishna. So that's basically what Swayambhuva Manu is trying to get across to Dhruva. Dhruva is feeling depressed because his brother was killed in the war. Why is he feeling depressed? Because he has that Bhavnamrita for his brother. He has feelings for his brother, even though there was a little, in the beginning, there was a little rivalry, But in the end, they're brothers. And he had a feeling for him. And now that he's died, he's feeling sad and depressed. So Swayambhuva Manu is trying to say that everyone's going to die, you're going to die also. Your children are going to feel the same way when you die. But let's focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is eternal, and return back to that eternal realm where we won't have these temporary setbacks in our life, where we're hurt and depressed and distressed because of the loss of loved ones, which has to happen in the material world. You can't change it. It is what it is. But you don't have to accept it as permanent. We can make a change. We can focus our consciousness on Krishna, and at the end of this life, don't take birth again in the material world, but go back home, back to Godhead. And that's why Prabhupada is encouraging us to only be interested in the original creator, maintainer, and annihilator, Sri Krishna. So at the end we can return back to him and live an eternal life of Krishna Bhavnamrita in the Sangha of all the pure devotees in the spiritual world. Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Yes?
May I please ask, how can we actually engage our own emotions into Krishna's service? How can we offer our emotions to Krishna?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me answer it with a question. How do you offer your emotions to your child? Do you have to get a university degree? Do you have to study for 4 years, get a PhD? Or does it just come natural?
It's coming natural, I guess.
Yeah. So our feeling for Krishna also comes naturally. But you can't love somebody you don't know. So we have to get to know Krishna. Once you know him, you love him. To know him is to love him. So how do we know Krishna? Well, by reading Shastra. Bhagavad Gita explains, or is the treatise where Krishna is giving instructions. So we can see, wow, this Krishna, he's really deep, he's really profound, he's an amazing person. You know, he has so much knowledge, so that's one thing you learn. Then in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you learn about his pastimes. You know, in Vrindavan, you learn about his pastimes in Mathura, you learn about his pastimes in Dwarka. And then you also, by chanting the holy names, you experience the blissful feelings of his holy name, how wonderful it is. Just like, for example, before I joined this movement, I was a professional musician, played in different bands, and played, you know, every night. We would play the same songs. But it all got very boring after, you know, a few months of the same song every night. You know, I had enough of this song. Then I joined this movement, and now for 45 years I'm singing the same song every day, and it's completely blissful, ever fresh. What a difference. I mean, it's so clear that the holy name is so powerful, it's so different than any other song, which is just made of mundane words. But this Mahamantra, they're all transcendental seed mantra vibrations of the spiritual world. Spiritual sound vibration. What a difference. So by taking up the process of Krishna consciousness, by reading and studying, doing devotional service, chanting the holy name, we get to know Krishna. And by sharing that with other people, telling people about Krishna, it's like a parent pulling out a photo and said, this is my child, this was his birthday, and on his birthday we went here and we went there, and you're so happy showing this to other people, right? We can do the same with Krishna. This is Janmashtami, this is Krishna's appearance day, and you know, you just talk about it and share it with other people. So this is how we begin to taste Krishna Bhavnamrita, to experience it. It's not some difficult thing, it's a very simple understanding. It's just opening our heart and letting Krishna come in. And sharing that with others. We already do it with our children. You know, when a man gets a new girlfriend and she's so pretty and he's showing everyone, this is my new girlfriend. Wow, she's really beautiful. Yeah, and he's feeling so good, you know. We do that. all the time in our flickering history of our little life. Now we want to do it, with Krishna. So we just have to dive a little deeper into this understanding of who is Krishna, what is he teaching, what are his pastimes, who are his associates, and share it with other people enthusiastically. And we'll get that feeling. Is that helpful? Thank you. Yes?
How to share this with others without seeming fanatical?
Because there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. You're not going to push. It's like when you want to show the picture of your child, right? You don't grab someone and say, look at this. No, you say, would you like to see a photo of my child on his birthday? You ask them. And they say, no, I couldn't care less. Okay, you don't push it, So it's the same, You say, I'm experiencing something wonderful that I'd like to share with you. Are you interested to know? You just ask people. You say yes. Say, well, have you ever heard of Krishna? No, I never have. Well, he appeared in India 5,000 years ago and blah, blah, blah. You just start talking and you show a picture of him. And that's like that. You just ask people, are you interested? If they're not interested, then why we should shove it down their throat? No, they're not interested, they're not interested. We're not forcing. That's another thing Prabhupada taught me. He said, love means no force. Love means no force. We have to bring out the interest of the living entities. I'll give you another example. In 1972, Srila Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan. There was a huge festival for Janmashtami and Vyas Puja. Anyway, before the festival, Prabhupada had come, the devotees were coming. So one afternoon, it was a beautiful sunny afternoon, Prabhupada came out of his quarters, out of the hut where he was staying in his room, sat underneath a tree. And all the devotees gathered. And there was a real nice darshan. Prabhupada was speaking. Now, New Vrindavan was a farm community, so there was all kinds of animals there. There was cows. There was horses. Horses would pull the real heavy loads. There were dogs. Dogs would keep intruders away, especially at night. They'd bark and keep intruders away. Cats. Cats kept the mice away. So even all the animals, all the human beings, everyone was doing their service for Krishna. Sri Sri Radha Brindavan Chandra. Those were the deities there. So Prabhupada's speaking, and one of the cat had just had kittens, and two of these kittens were playing, and they were playing with each other and running and jumping and really having a great time with each other. And then all of a sudden they were coming in front of Prabhupada, and they both jumped on Prabhupada's lap. All the devotees went, oh. They were thinking, oh, these animals are dirty, and now this is a pure devotee, And what's Prabhupada going to do now? So Prabhupada looked down, and the two little kittens were looking up, and Prabhupada began to pet them like this. And they were going like this. And then they began to purr. Purr. And then Prabhupada said, just see, even in the animals there is love. And the Vaishnavas, we have to bring out the love in every living entity. Every living entity has love in the heart, and we have to bring out that love. You may meet someone on the street. He has love in his heart. He loves his children. He loves his family. We have to bring that out and get his interest and share with him. So sharing means caring. We have to care. We're not just doing it to sell a book to get some money. We're not salespeople. We're devotees. We just want to share something wonderful in our life. And we might even ask them, you know, I have something wonderful to share in my life. You have something wonderful to share in your life? Let them share something. And then now, because you allowed them to share, they are obligated to allow you to share. They feel that, okay, we have to reciprocate. So then, you know, they may be talking about their family or their children, and you bring out a picture of Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, and you talk about that. So you share. You know, you may want to pick out a verse in the Bhagavad Gita and say, listen to this. This is like so profound. And then you read it and you say, what do you think of that? You know, and then you get in a discussion, you know. And in this way, what happens is you become very friendly with that person. When you make friends with people, then they're interested in what you have to share. If they don't like you, then they don't care what you have to share. They have to like you. So the whole secret of success in book distribution or preaching is first to get people to like you. And you have to know the art, how to get them to like you the first 30 seconds that they meet you, so that they'll be interested in what you have to say. Because if in the first 30 seconds they don't like you, then they couldn't care less what you have to say. They're just thinking, how do I get rid of this guy? How do I get out of here? You know. So we really have to bond with them, heart to heart, soul to soul. Not ego to ego. That's never going to work. Not that I know something and you don't. Nobody's interested in that. But let's share something wonderful together. And they'll think, oh, he's a real nice person. So in this way, we get people's interest because they like us. Is that clear? Yes.
So is my understanding correctly that until we don't experience something wonderful, like you said, and as long as we are experiencing a struggle, more or less, we have nothing to share with others?
Well, look, when a couple get married, they have this expectation that we're going to have a family. They don't have a family yet. They're not experiencing what it is to have a family. But they know that they want to have a family, and that when they do have a family, it'll be something very nice. So similarly, in the beginning, we don't know Krishna. But we know that if we get to know Krishna, that if we follow the process, we're going to experience something. So it's the same, the anticipation. We're following the process, knowing we're going to get the result. It's the same when you go to the university. You enroll in a course. Let's say you enroll in a Latin course to learn the Latin language. So before you enroll in the course, you're excited. Wow, I'm going to learn Latin. This is the mother tongue of Romanian language, and you know, like that. But you don't know anything. It's just an expectation, anticipation. And then once you experience the course, and you can say a few words in Latin and explain to people how this Romanian word is derived from this Latin word or something, you know, so it's a process. Krishna consciousness is also a process. So it's step by step. So we come here in the beginning because we're interested to know more. We come here in the beginning because we want to experience what the other devotees are experiencing. I'm not experiencing it yet, but I'm seeing that there are some devotees that are just blissful. I want to become blissful. Let me take this up. So you have some encouragement by an inspiration from seeing others, and by taking up the process, you feel that you'll also experience that. So everything is a process. So you start on square one, but you don't end up on square one. If after 40 years you're still on square one, you're doing something wrong. You're missing the boat. You're missing the train. You're standing on the station, but the train already left. So let's not miss the boat or miss the train, you know. Let's really get serious about this so that we can experience what the others are experiencing. I'm not experiencing it yet because I'm new. But if it works for others, then it should work for me. As long as I do it correctly. If I do it wrong, then of course I'm not going to get the result. I have to do it correctly. And we can get inspiration from the other devotees. If you're feeling that you're not getting what you really would like to get, then you ask someone, how can I improve? What can I do better? And everyone was so happy to help and assist, because this is a true family. No one says, I don't have any time. Your biological family, they may say, I don't have any time. But the Krishna conscious family, they'll always have time for you. Because they really care and they want the best for you. Whereas your biological family, they may not want the best for you. They may make fun of you. Oh, you joined that crazy Krishna. They don't care. They don't appreciate your choices. They want you to be like them. And if you're different, then they lose interest in you. You can't be who you are with your biological family. But in your spiritual family, you can be exactly who you are, and everyone accepts you, and everyone wants to assist you in any way. So that's the wonderful thing about our movement, and about this family here in Timisoara. It's a wonderful family that we have here. Right? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.